Life Balance Counseling. Good for you for looking it up. We're going to talk through it. When we can live life on our terms, on a holistic level, taking into account not just our business lives, but also our health, all of our relationships, from friends, family, partners, the world changes. All right, so when it comes for counseling and looking for life balance, well, my wife, couples and family counselor, and I, a 30-year coach, have been working with people literally all over the world on this exact topic. We actually do a lot of work with very senior leaders and CEOs and their spouses in some cases. So when you start thinking about life balance and how do you come together with this? Well, ideally we're going to be able to give you some tools today, and if you want to learn more, you're welcome to reach out to us. So when it comes to counseling, specifically for life balance, one of the biggest challenges we face nowadays is that in a lot of ways, it's almost impossible to have life balance. However, please, it's very possible though to have a very intentional, integrated, healthy, balanced life. So what I mean is that the days of when we could come home and close the door, hang our hat on the hook, change clothes, and we're just at home, and that's all we did, they're not there anymore. Just as the ability for your 6-year-old to reach out to you and send you and FaceTime you in the middle of a business meeting, well, that's possible. Both of those are, it's just changed. It's not different. And unfortunately for many of us, we've ended up becoming and allowing ourselves to get into a reactionary, just a mess, to where we're constantly playing whack-a-mole. But like I say, an intentional, positive, healthy work-life integration is 100% possible. So what I'm going to suggest, and you're welcome to go to our site, and it doesn't cost anything, it'll only take about 6-7 minutes, is if you go to lifeon-yourterms.com, there's the book, and you go about halfway down, 2/3 of the way down, and there's a link to something called the balance wheel. This is where I would suggest, and this is where I start everybody, is once you have an assessment and you define where you are, well, it's going to allow you then to start becoming much stronger in defining where you want to go and what amazing could look like. So just as it is the same in the business consulting world as it is within a lot of the counseling world, is we have to go through one of 4 phases. We have to figure out how to stabilize, then how do we visualize, once we visualize, then how do we strategize, and then lastly, how do we execute? But to start with, how do we stabilize? Well, we have to assess. We have to define where we are and who we are. And this is one of those first steps. So if you go there, do the at lifeon-yourterms.com, do the course, and it's going to produce a balance wheel. Now this one is 100%, and yours won't look like this. Yours will be in different areas. Some areas will be all the way out. Some areas will be maybe a little low, and you're hurting. Now the intention with this is for you to create awareness. And first and foremost, where are the areas you're strong? If you can find those areas you're strong, don't forget to celebrate. It seems like for some reason we've learned how to suck at celebrating. So make sure you celebrate. Excuse me. All right, but then the rest of the balance wheel, wherever you aren't strong, well, you want to go through and start saying, okay, what can I do to make these better? Now, the 4 components of the balance wheel are going to be, what is our professional life? Traditionally, most people have looked at success, from a professional. What's the money and the accolades, the titles? Do I have a corner office? That kind of thing. Rarely have people look, but I work 90 hours a week and my health is a mess and I'm, it's not necessarily the only way to look at success. Now, don't get me wrong. I love multiple homes and BMWs. I like that. It's important, but it's not the only thing. So one of the areas is going to be our professional life. Another area is going to be what are our resources look like. But it's not the traditional resources. Obviously our stuff, our treasure is part of it, but also our talent. How do we feel we're doing intellectually? Do we feel like we're always learning? Are we curious? Are we getting stronger there? And then lastly, how are we doing with time? And almost resoundingly, this is one of the biggest areas when we think about balance that people are completely out of whack. Almost nobody feels, I got too much time. They just sit around and watch Jerry Springer all day. Okay, if that's you, then you're not watching this video. But the point is that when we start having that awareness of our time, our talent, and our treasure, maybe we start to look at things a little different. All right, then we're gonna have our relationships. The relationships are going to be our spousal or our partner, our friends, and our family. How do we look at those? Are they solid, or are they where they want to be? And then lastly is our health, our physical, our mental, and our spiritual health. So now I've worked with public CEOs, literally, and we start with this tool to help them start defining what is balance, because I have seen this over and over and over, where if I can get a CEO to look at themselves on a holistic level and decide, no, how can I integrate a healthy life, a well-rounded life? How is that going to improve? It makes them a better leader. When you are a better spouse or a better parent and a better friend, when you're taking care of your health, when you sleep better, when you're managing your time better, you become a better leader. And as a result, you start to achieve that work-life balance. That's what counseling is about, is how to help you create that awareness. And then once you create that awareness, then you can start to choose how you're going to move forward with it. So when you go through, you get the results. Well, the first thing, excuse me again, celebrate. Yeah, doing great here. Wonderful. And then these other areas like, this is kind of a shit show. Not happy with that. Okay, it's okay. Creating that awareness and being aware of it, that's one of the main steps. Now the next thing, though, is to start to say, what are 2 or 3 things I can do today that I can start to have an impact with this? How can I start to take more control? Because ultimately, a good counselor is going to help somebody transition from a reactive state to a proactive state. And when it comes to work and life, if you can start to transition from that reactive state to a proactive state, you are going to do so much better when you start to transition with that. But sometimes people see this like, oh my God, I got to do everything. I got to start changing. And they want to do too much. So initial step, once you've created that awareness, we celebrate some of those victories. And then I suggest you find 2 or 3 things, 2 or 3 areas that you can start to improve. Small baby steps. I call it arbitrage. Ooh, heard an owl back there. That's nice. So one of the key areas is how do you sleep? Now, when you ask a CEO this, who's running 1,000,000 miles an hour, they get pissed off. Like, whoa, what's that having to do with business? Well, actually, it has everything to do with business. In fact, I know some people would consider being well rested their #1 competitive advantage. So, how can we do that? Well, what do you mean by being proactive with sleep? I go to bed. Okay. So it may be as simple as, where is your phone? Can you put your phone in the other room? Can you leave that out there? Can you make sure that you read and you're not watching a bunch of angry, bitter politics or war movies or something right before you go to bed? How can you set that intention? Keep the phone out of the room so you're not scrolling, doing silly TikToks for 2 hours before you go to sleep. But put that solid intention, and then set your sleep with a little bit of gratitude. Hey, I'm truly grateful for, and I'm looking forward to a great night's sleep. You go through the night, when you wake up, same thing. I'm grateful for this. I'm happy that I've got a beautiful person next to me, or whatever it may be. But what are those things you're grateful for? And then I encourage that you go out and go for a walk. Leave your device at home, go for a 30-minute walk, 15-minute walk, and just embrace the day. And what this is going to do is it's going to start to help you transition from that reactive state to proactive state and say, well, what do I absolutely have to get done? Because you know what? Life's crazy right now. I may not be able to do everything. All right? That's going to help move it forward. Now, what you've done with this is you've gotten a little bit better sleep. You're transitioning to that proactive state with your phone and how you're controlling it. You've started with a bit of physical exercise. So you're putting a whole bunch of different chemicals into your brain right out of the gate. And you're starting to prioritize what your day looks like. So already by doing these very basic things, it helps you to transition to start seeing what is more important for you. So with this, we have an entire course at Life on Your Terms, lifeon-yourterms.com, where we have a bunch of videos and all sorts of workshops and workbooks in there, but it actually goes through, and we do workshops on this, but it'll go through for each segment of the pie on how you can start to transition for that reactive or proactive state. How can you start moving that forward? So the fun thing is once you start to transition, things get better. Then there's next steps around visualizing. How can you visualize what amazing looks like? And there's tools on how you visualize for each one of those slices of the pie. What does that look like in a year? Because once you start to see where you want to go, it becomes much easier to achieve it. And then once we start doing that, there's a whole nother exercise we do that helps people figure out, hey, how can you dream again? How can you look at the world in a completely different way? How can you come up with your own, to use Jim Collins' term, BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal? We like to call it a life-changing goal. How can you come up with an LCG for you that really becomes your true why? And we've got exercises on how you achieve that. So ideally you found some value in this. And if you did, please subscribe to the channel, check out our other videos on here. And if you have questions, please don't be afraid of reaching out, or check out our course at lifeon-yourterms.com. Keep smiling.